The Zoreth Empire thought they were unstoppable. They were a huge group of aliens with shiny ships and tall towers on their planet. They had sharp claws, glowing eyes, and voices that sounded like thunder. They ruled many worlds, and they believed no one could challenge them. One day, they turned their eyes to a small human colony on a dusty asteroid called Vara 7. It was a secret place, hidden deep in space, where humans worked hard to mine rocks that powered spaceships. The Zorath decided to show their strength. They swooped down in their black ships and did something terrible. They grabbed 10 humans from their homes and hurt them badly in a public square right in the middle of the colony. They didn't give the humans a chance to speak or explain. They just wanted everyone to see their power. The Zorath stood tall as they carried out their cruel act. They lined up the 10 humans, 5 men and 5 women, in front of a big crowd of scared miners. The square was usually a happy place, filled with laughter and the clinking of tools. But now it was silent, except for the hum of the Zorath's machines. The aliens shouted that these humans were troublemakers, even though they had no proof. They thought this would make everyone afraid. They believed no one in the galaxy would care about a tiny colony so far away. They were sure the humans were weak and would stay quiet. But they didn't know the truth. Someone was always watching, even in the darkest corners of space. The humans in the square were just regular people. There was a teacher who loved showing kids how to read star maps. There was a cook who made the best soup in the colony. Another was a mechanic who fixed broken machines with a smile. They weren't soldiers or heroes in stories. They were neighbors, friends, and family. The Zorath didn't care who they were. They thought picking these 10 would send a message. Obey us or this will happen to you. They didn't ask for names or stories. They didn't think anyone would notice. But the galaxy is big, and news travels fast, even from a secret place like Vara 7. High above the asteroid, a small drone buzzed quietly. It was a human drone, no bigger than a soccer ball, hiding in the shadows of a broken satellite. It recorded everything: the Zorath's ships, their loud voices, and the awful moment when they hurt the 10 humans. The drone sent its video to a human ship far away, and that ship sent it to others. Soon, the pictures reached Earth. People on Earth saw what happened, and their hearts grew heavy. The Zorath thought no one would care because Vara 7 was small and far away. They thought humans would just cry and move on, but they didn't understand humans at all. On Vara 7, the other colonists were too scared to speak at first. They hid in their homes, whispering to each other. The air felt thick with fear. The Zorath left their big ships hovering over the colony like a warning to stay quiet. But even in their fear, the humans were angry. They knew the 10 people who were hurt. They remembered the teacher's kind voice, the cook's warm meals, and the mechanic's jokes. These weren't just names to them. They were people who made life better. The colonists started talking in secret, passing messages when the Zorath weren't looking. They wanted to do something, but they didn't know what yet. The Zorath leaders, safe in their shiny tower on their home planet, laughed when they heard about Vara 7. They sat around a big table, sipping strange drinks that glowed green. Their leader, a tall alien named Zorkren, said, "Humans are like bugs, squash a few and the rest will hide." His advisors nodded, their claws tapping the table. They thought their plan was perfect. They believed the galaxy would see their strength and bow to them. They didn't know about the drone or the video. They didn't know that Earth was already hearing the news. Back on the asteroid, the square was empty now, but the memory of that day stayed. The humans cleaned up the mess the Zorath left behind. They found a small necklace one of the 10 had been wearing, a gift from a child in the colony. It was a simple thing, just a string with a tiny star-shaped pendant. Seeing it made the colonists' eyes fill with tears, but it also made their hearts burn with something new, not just sadness, but a need to act. They didn't have big ships or fancy weapons like the Zorath, but they had something else, hope and a reason to fight back. The Zorath's mistake was thinking humans were alone. They didn't know that every human, no matter how small or far away, was connected to others. The 10 people they hurt weren't just minors. They were part of a bigger family. The teacher had a sister who worked on Earth's biggest space station. The cook had a son who flew fast ships. The mechanic had a friend who knew how to hack into alien computers. The Zorath thought they could act and walk away. They thought no one would care because Vara 7 was a speck in the galaxy. But they were wrong, and they would soon find out how much. The news spread beyond Earth. Other alien races, ones who didn't like the Zorath, saw the video too. They whispered in their own cities, saying, "The humans won't let this go." Some of these aliens had fought the Zorath before and lost. They knew how strong the Empire was, but they also knew humans were different. Humans didn't give up easily. The Zorath thought their show of power would make everyone afraid. Instead, it lit a spark. That spark was small at first, but it was growing, and it was about to turn into a fire the Zorath couldn't put out. The Zorath kept their ships over Vara 7, watching the humans like hawks. They expected the colonists to cry and beg. They didn't see the secret messages being sent. They didn't notice the drone's tiny signal leaving the asteroid. They thought they had won. But the galaxy was bigger than their empire, and the humans were already planning. The Zorath believed no one would care about 10 people on a forgotten rock. They believed they could do anything and get away with it. But they were wrong, and that mistake would cost them everything. In the days after the attack, the colonists on Vara 7 worked quietly. They fixed their tools, shared their food, and kept their heads down when Zorath's ships flew overhead. But in the dark, they met in hidden rooms. They talked about the 10 who were gone. They made a promise this wouldn't happen again. They didn't know how they'd fight back yet, but they knew they would. The Zorath thought they had crushed the human spirit. They thought fear would keep the colony silent. But fear doesn't stop humans. It pushes them to be stronger. Far away on Earth, people were gathering. Not soldiers, not yet, but regular people who saw the video and felt the same anger as the colonists. They sent messages to ships, to stations, to anyone who would listen. The Zorath didn't know it, but their cruel act had woken something up. It wasn't just Vara 7 that was watching now. It was Earth, its allies, and even some of the Zorath's enemies. The galaxy was paying attention, and the Zorath's time was running out. The Zorath thought they could hurt humans and walk away. They thought a small colony didn't matter. They thought no one would care, but they were wrong. The humans cared. The galaxy cared. And soon, the Zorath would learn what happens when you push people too far. The spark from Vara 7 was about to become a storm, and no one, not even the mighty Zorath Empire, could stop it. The 10 humans hurt by the Zorath Empire on Vara 7 weren't just names on a list. They were real people with lives, dreams, and families. Each one had someone who loved them deeply, someone strong, smart, or brave who wouldn't let their loss go unanswered. The Zorath thought these humans were nobody special, just miners on a faraway rock. But they didn't know the truth. Every person they took was connected to someone powerful, and those connections would change everything. The first human was Leela, a teacher who loved showing kids how to read star maps. She had a kind smile and a way of making hard things seem easy. Leela wasn't famous, but her older sister, Mara, was. Mara worked on Earth's biggest space station, a giant city in the sky called Orion Hub. Mara was a scientist who built shields that could stop lasers and bombs. When Mara heard about Layla, her heart broke, but her mind started working. She wasn't just sad. She was ready to use her skills to make the Zorath pay. The second human was Tom, a cook who made the best soup in the colony. His kitchen was always warm and his laughter filled the air. Tom had a son named Eli who wasn't on Vara 7. Eli was a pilot in Earth's fastest fleet, a group of ships called the Star Runners. Eli could fly through asteroid fields without blinking. When he saw the video of what happened to his dad, his hands shook, but his eyes got sharp. He knew he'd fly again soon, not just to explore, but to fight back. The third human was Jaya, a mechanic who fixed broken machines like they were puzzles. She wore a tool belt and always had a smudge of grease on her cheek. Jaya's best friend, Samir, was a hacker who lived on a moon base called Luna 4. Samir could sneak into any computer, even alien ones. When he learned about Jaya, he didn't cry. He opened his laptop and started typing. The Zorath systems weren't safe anymore, and Samir was going to prove it. The fourth human was Carlos, a gardener who grew plants in the colony's air domes. His flowers made people smile, even on tough days. Carlos had a daughter, Sophia, who was a leader on Earth. Sophia worked in a big building where people made plans for all human colonies. She was good at bringing people together. When Sophia got the news about her dad, she didn't yell or scream. She called her team and started organizing. The Zorath didn't know it, but Sophia was building an army of helpers. The fifth human was Aisha, a nurse who took care of sick miners. She had a gentle voice and never ran out of bandages. Aisha's cousin, Malik, was an engineer who designed weapons for Earth's defense force. Malik was quiet but brilliant. When he heard about Aisha, he locked himself in his workshop. He wasn't making toys or tools this time. He was crafting something big, something the Zorath wouldn't expect. The sixth human was Ben, a builder who made homes for the colony. He was tall and strong, always humming a song while he worked. Ben's wife, Clara, was a captain on a human ship called the Dawn Star. Clara led a team that explored dangerous parts of space. When she learned about Ben, her crew saw her face change. She wasn't just their captain now. She was a warrior with a reason to fight. Her ship turned toward Earth, ready for what was coming. The seventh human was Mia, a librarian who kept stories and maps safe. She loved telling kids about Earth's history. Mia's brother, Leo, was a spy who worked in secret for Earth's leaders. Leo knew things about the Zorath that even they didn't want to share. When he heard about Mia, he slipped into the shadows, gathering more secrets. The Zorath thought they were safe, but Leo was already watching. The eighth human was Omar, a driver who moved supplies around the colony. He was fast and always had a joke ready. Omar's mom, Zara, was a judge on a space station called Unity. Zara made sure laws were fair for humans and aliens. When she saw what happened to her son, she didn't stay in her courtroom. She started talking to other alien leaders who didn't trust the Zorath. Zara's words were like a spark, lighting up new allies. The ninth human was Emma, a scientist who studied rocks on Vara 7. She was quiet but loved finding answers. Emma's dad, Henry, was a general in Earth's Space Force. Henry had fought battles before and he knew how to win. When he got the news about Emma, he didn't shout orders. He sat with his maps and started planning. The Zorath ships were strong, but Henry was ready to outsmart them. The 10th human was Ravi, a kid who cleaned tools for the miners. He was only 12 but worked hard to help his family. Ravi's uncle, Anil, was a trader who flew ships full of goods across the galaxy. Anil knew every shortcut and every friendly port. When he heard about Ravi, he didn't load his ship with food or metal. He packed it with tools for a fight and called his friends. Anil's trade routes were about to become battle lines. Each of these 10 humans was special, not because they were rich or famous, but because they were loved. The Zorath thought hurting them would make humans weak. They didn't know that every person they took had someone waiting to act. Mara was already testing her shields. Eli was fueling his ship. Samir's fingers flew over his keyboard. Sophia's team was growing. Malik's workshop hummed with new machines. Clara's crew sharpened their skills. Leo's secrets piled up. Zara's allies listened. Henry's plans took shape. Anil's ships changed course. The Zorath didn't see the web connecting these people. They thought Vara 7 was just a speck, easy to crush. But every human they hurt was a thread in a bigger picture. Those threads led to scientists, pilots, hackers, leaders, engineers, captains, spies, judges, generals, and traders. Each one was powerful in their own way, and each one was angry. The Zorath thought they could act and walk away. They thought 10 lives didn't matter, but they were wrong. On Vara 7, the other miners whispered about the 10. They remembered Leela's lessons, Tom's soup, Jaya's fixes, Carlos's flowers, Aisha's care, Ben's homes, Mia's stories, Omar's jokes, Emma's questions, and Ravi's hard work. These weren't just people, they were the heart of the colony. The miners didn't have big weapons, but they had memories. They started saving tools, hiding food, and passing notes. They knew help was coming, even if they didn't know how. Far away, the powerful people connected to the 10 were moving. Mara sent messages to other scientists, asking for help. Eli met with other pilots, sharing his plans. Samir found weak spots in Zorath computers. Sophia's team grew bigger every day. Malik's new weapon took shape. Clara's ship joined others in secret. Leo sent his secrets to Earth. Zara's alien friends promised support. Henry drew battle lines. Anil's traders turned into fighters. The Zorath sat in their tall towers thinking they had won. They didn't know about Mara's shields, Eli's ships, or Samir's hacks. They didn't see Sophia's army, Malik's weapons, or Clara's crew. They didn't hear Leo's whispers, Zara's talks, or Henry's plans. They didn't notice Anil's ships changing paths. They thought the humans were broken. But the humans were building something bigger than the Zorath could imagine. Every human on Vara 7 and every person they loved was part of a chain. The Zorath broke one link, but the chain didn't fall apart. It got stronger. The 10 weren't just victims. They were the reason for what was coming. Their lives weren't small or forgotten. They were the start of a story the galaxy would never forget. The Zorath thought they could hurt 10 people and move on. They thought no one would care. But every human had someone who loved them, someone powerful. and those someones were ready to show the Zorath what humans could do. The humans didn't shout or send angry messages after the Zorath hurt their people on Vara 7. They didn't wave flags or make loud promises. Instead, they started doing things, quiet, smart things that the Zorath didn't notice at first. The aliens thought they had scared everyone into silence. They were wrong. The humans were moving, like shadows in the dark, starting a plan that would grow bigger than the Zorath could handle. On a faraway trade route, a Zorath cargo ship sailed through space, carrying food and metal to one of their big bases. It was a normal trip and the crew felt safe. But one night the ship's lights flickered, the engines stopped humming, the screens went black. The crew ran around pushing buttons, but nothing worked. By morning the ship was gone. No crash, no fight, no sign of trouble. It just vanished. The Zorath thought it was bad luck. They didn't know humans had been there, sneaking onto the ship and shutting it down without a sound. Back on Vara 7, the miners were busy. They looked scared when Zorath ships flew over, but in secret they were brave. A group of workers, led by a quiet man named Kale, started hiding tools. Kale used to fix air vents, so he knew every corner of the colony. He and his friends tucked away wires, batteries, and small machines in hidden spots. They didn't know what they'd use them for yet, but they wanted to be ready. The Zorath guards didn't see a thing. They thought the miners were too afraid to act. Far from Vara 7, a Zorath space station orbited a green planet. It was a busy place, full of aliens trading goods and fixing ships. One day the station's power went out. Lights shut off, doors locked, and computers froze. Traders shouted, but no one could fix it. After a few hours, the power came back, but something was different. The station's map system was broken, sending ships to the wrong places. The Zorath blamed old wires. They didn't know a human hacker, Samir, had slipped into their computers from a moon base called Luna 4. Samir was Jaya's friend, and he was angry. On Earth, a pilot named Eli was getting his ship ready. Eli was Tom's son, and he flew with the Star Runners, a team of fast ships. He didn't tell anyone his plan, not even his crew. Late at night, he took a small ship and flew to a Zorath fuel stop. It was a tiny station, just a few tanks and a guard. Eli landed quietly, turned off the fuel pumps, and left a message on the wall. "We remember Vara 7. By the time the guard woke up, Eli was gone. The Zorath found the message but laughed. They thought one pilot couldn't hurt them. They didn't see Eli was just the first. In a different part of space, a Zorath outpost sat on a cold rock. It was a small base with soldiers who watched for trouble. One morning, the soldiers woke up to find their food gone. Not stolen, just gone. The storage room was empty and the locks weren't broken. They were hungry and confused. They didn't know that Clara, Ben's wife, had led her crew from the Dawn Star to sneak in. Clara's team didn't fight. They took the food and left, quiet as a breeze. The soldiers sent a message to their leaders, but no one cared yet. It was just one outpost. The humans weren't loud about their actions. They didn't want the Zorath to know what was happening. On Vara 7, Kale's team started messing with the Zorath's machines. They loosened bolts on a landing pad so a ship wobbled when it landed. The pilot thought it was a mistake and yelled at his crew. Kale hid a smile. Another miner, a woman named Rosa, changed the settings on a Zorath scanner. It started showing fake signals, making the guards chase nothing. The Zorath got annoyed, but they didn't suspect the miners. Samir kept working from Luna 4. He found a Zorath message system and changed a few words. Orders to move ships went to the wrong places. Supplies meant for one base ended up at another. The Zorath officers argued, blaming each other. Samir sat at his desk, sipping juice, and sent more tricks into their computers. He didn't leave a name, but he thought of Jaya every time he hit a key. His actions were small, but they were adding up. Eli flew to another Zorath stop, this time a water plant on a desert moon. He didn't break anything. He just turned off the pumps for a few hours. The Zorath workers were thirsty and mad, but they fixed it and moved on. Eli left another message. Vara 7 isn't forgotten. The Zorath saw it and shrugged. They thought it was a joke. They didn't know Eli was leaving clues, showing other humans it was time to act. Clara's crew struck again, this time at a Zorath radio tower. They didn't knock it down. They changed its signal so it played static instead of orders. The Zorath soldiers couldn't talk to their bosses for a day. They fixed the tower, but it happened again somewhere else. Clara's team moved fast, hitting small targets and slipping away. The Zorath started posting more guards, but they couldn't catch anyone. Clara thought of Ben and kept going. On Earth, Sophia, Carlos's daughter, was talking to people. She wasn't fighting yet, but she was planning. She met with workers, pilots, and builders, asking them to save supplies. They stored food, fuel, and tools in secret spots. Sophia didn't tell them everything, but she said, "We need to be ready." People trusted her because she was calm and strong. They didn't know about Vara 7 yet, but they saw the fire in her eyes. Sophia was building something big, starting with small steps. The Zorath leaders, safe in their shiny towers, didn't notice the trouble. They got reports about a missing ship, a broken station, and an empty outpost, but they thought it was nothing. Their leader, Zorkren, said, "These are accidents. Humans are too weak to fight us." His advisors nodded, sipping their glowing drinks. They laughed at the messages Eli left, calling them silly. They didn't see the pattern. They didn't know the humans were testing them, learning how they worked. On Vara 7, the miners got bolder. Kale's team hit a Zorath radio in a vent and used it to listen to the guards. They learned when ships were coming and going. Rosa made a tiny device that buzzed and scared Zorath drones away. The drones flew off and the guards chased them, leaving parts of the colony unwatched. The miners used those moments to move more tools or send messages to other colonies. They were scared, but they felt alive. They were doing something for Layla, Tom, Jaya, and the others. Samir hacked a Zorath camera on a trade station. He made it show old videos so the guards didn't see a human ship land. The ship dropped off supplies for a nearby colony, then left. The Zorath never knew. Samir smiled, thinking of Jaya's tool belt. He sent a message to other hackers saying, "Keep it small, but keep it going." More humans joined in, shutting off lights or mixing up Zorath maps. The aliens started to feel uneasy, but they didn't know why. Eli hit another target, a Zorath repair shop. He didn't steal anything. He just moved tools around so the workers couldn't find them. It slowed their work for a day. He left his message again, "Vara 7 lives." The Zorath guards saw it and got mad, but they didn't know who to blame. Eli flew back to his base, his heart racing. He wasn't alone. Other pilots started doing the same, hitting small Zorath spots and leaving fast. Clara's crew took out a Zorath beacon, a light that guided their ships. They didn't break it, they turned it to point the wrong way. Zorath ships got lost for hours. The aliens fixed it, but Clara hit another beacon the next day. The Zorath started sending more ships to guard their lights, spreading their forces thin. Clara's crew stayed hidden, planning their next move. They thought of Ben's songs and kept working. The humans' actions were like pebbles in a pond. Each one was small, but the ripples were growing. A missing ship here, a broken light there, a lost message somewhere else. The Zorath didn't connect the dots. They thought they were in control. But the humans were everywhere, moving quietly, striking softly. Kale's tools, Rosa's tricks, Samir's hacks, Eli's flights, Clara's hits, Sophia's plans, they were all part of something bigger. The Zorath laughed at the first signs of trouble. They thought a few accidents couldn't hurt their empire. They didn't know the humans were angry, smart, and ready. The miners on Vara 7, the hackers on Luna 4, the pilots in the stars, the crews in the shadows, they weren't fighting with guns yet. They were fighting with ideas, with small acts that added up. The Zorath thought they had won on Vara 7. They thought the humans were done. But the humans were just starting, and their revenge was growing. On the Zorath Empire's home planet, in a tall tower made of shiny black stone, General Vark sat at a long table. He was a big alien with sharp claws and eyes that glowed like fire. Vark was one of the Zorath's top leaders, in charge of their ships and bases. He was used to winning, and he thought the humans were no threat after what happened on Vara 7. But lately, strange things were happening, and Vark was starting to notice. Something was wrong, and it wasn't just bad luck. Vark looked at a screen full of reports. A cargo ship had vanished last week. A fuel station stopped working. A radio tower played music instead of orders. At first he laughed, thinking these were silly mistakes. His advisors, sitting around the table, agreed. They sipped their glowing green drinks and said, "Humans are weak. They can't do this." But Vark wasn't so sure anymore. He tapped his claws on the table, his eyes narrowing. The reports were piling up, and they didn't feel random. One report came from a small outpost on a dusty moon. The soldiers there said their food was gone, and they found a note. Vara 7 remembers. Vark read the note and frowned. He remembered Vara 7, where the Zorath hurt 10 humans to show their power. He thought that was the end of it. But now these notes were showing up everywhere, on ships, at stations, even scratched into walls. Vark's stomach felt tight. He didn't like surprises, and this felt like something bigger. Another report came from a trade station. Its computers sent ships to the wrong places. Food meant for soldiers ended up on a desert planet. Metal for weapons landed in an empty asteroid field. The traders were angry, shouting at each other. Vark's advisors said it was a broken system, but Vark shook his head. "One mistake is an accident," he said, "but this many, that's a plan." His voice was low, and the room got quiet. The advisors stopped sipping their drinks. Vark called for more reports. A water plant on a dry moon had shut down for hours. The workers found a message: Vara 7 isn't forgotten. A landing pad on Vara 7 made a ship wobble, and the pilot blamed his crew. A guard post lost its radios, and the soldiers found another note: "We're not afraid." Vark's claws dug into the table. He didn't like these messages. They were short, but they felt like a warning. The humans weren't supposed to fight back. They were supposed to be scared. He sent a message to his spies asking what was happening. The spies came back with little information. "The humans are quiet," they said. "They work in their colonies and don't talk much." But Vark didn't believe it. Quiet didn't mean weak. He remembered how the humans looked on Vara 7, standing tall even when they were hurt. He thought they'd give up, but now he wasn't sure. The missing ships, broken machines, and strange notes were too many to ignore. Vark visited a Zorath base on a cold planet. The soldiers there were nervous. Their lights had gone out for a day and their heaters stopped working. They fixed it, but they found a note. Vara 7 lives. Vark held the note, his claws shaking a little. He asked the soldiers if they saw anyone, but they shook their heads. No one came, they said. It just happened. Vark's eyes glowed brighter. He didn't like things he couldn't explain. Back in his tower, Vark met with his top advisor, a thin alien named Siles. Siles had a sharp mind and knew every Zorath base. "This isn't random," Vark said, pointing at the reports. "The humans are doing this. They're hitting us where we're not looking." Siles tilted his head, his long ears twitching. "But how?" he asked. "They don't have big ships or armies," Vark growled. "They don't need them. They're smart." He didn't want to admit it, but he was starting to respect the humans. Siles pulled up a map of the galaxy. It showed all the Zorath bases, ships, and trade routes. Red dots marked where things went wrong: a missing ship here, a broken station there, a lost signal somewhere else. The dots were spread out, but they formed a pattern. Vark leaned closer, his claws tapping the screen. "They're not fighting us head-on," he said. "They're picking at us like bugs eating a tree." Siles nodded slowly. "If they keep this up, our bases will weaken." Vark sent orders to his soldiers. "Guard the fuel stations," he said. "Watch the trade routes, check every computer." The soldiers saluted and ran to obey, but Vark felt uneasy. The humans were moving faster than his orders. Another report came in. A Zorath drone factory was sending drones to the wrong places. The drones were supposed to watch human colonies, but they were flying in circles. A note was found. "Vara 7 sees you." Vark crumpled the note in his claw. He called a meeting with other Zorath leaders. They gathered in the tower, their faces grim. One leader, a short alien named Torva, said, "We need to attack the humans now, show them we're stronger." Vark shook his head. "We don't know where they are," he said. "They're hitting us and disappearing." Torva laughed, but it sounded nervous. "They're just humans," he said. Vark stared at him. "Then why are we losing ships?" The room went quiet again. Vark went to his office and looked at the stars through a big window. He thought about Vara 7. He had watched the humans there, expecting them to beg. They didn't. Now their notes were everywhere, like ghosts haunting his empire. He felt a chill, not from the cold, but from worry. The Zorath were strong, with big ships and sharp claws, but the humans were different. They didn't fight like soldiers, they fought like shadows. A new report came in. A Zorath supply depot was locked and no one could get in. The food and fuel inside were useless. The guards found a note: "Vara 7 isn't over." Vark slammed his claw on his desk. He called his spies again, demanding answers. "Find them," he shouted. But the spies had nothing new. The humans were too quiet, too clever. Vark's glowing eyes dimmed a little. He was starting to feel something he hadn't felt before: fear. He sent more guards to every base. He told his ships to fly in pairs so they wouldn't disappear. He ordered his computer experts to check every system, but the problems kept coming. A power plant flickered, leaving a city dark. A trade ship delivered empty crates. A radio tower played human songs again. Each time there was a note, always about Vara 7. Vark collected them, spreading them on his desk. The words were simple, but they felt heavy, like a storm coming. Siles came to Vark's office. "We need to talk to the Emperor," he said. "This is getting worse." Vark nodded, but he didn't want to admit how bad it was. The Emperor Zorkren was proud and didn't like bad news. Vark knew he'd have to explain the missing ships, the broken stations, and the notes. He wasn't sure how to make it sound small. The humans were making it hard to hide the truth. Vark looked at his map again. The red dots were growing like spots on a sick tree. He traced them with his claw, trying to guess the humans' plan. "They're not random," he said to Sillies. "They're hitting our fuel, our food, our signals. They want us weak." Sillies' ears twitched again. "What do we do?" he asked. Vark didn't answer right away. He was thinking, his mind racing. The humans weren't fighting like he expected. They were planning something bigger. He sent a message to all Zoreth bases. "Watch everything, trust no one." But even as he sent it, another report came in. A guard post on Vara 7 was empty, its radios gone. The note said, "We're still here." Vark's claws shook. He thought Vara 7 was under control, but the miners were fighting back. He didn't know how they did it, but he knew they weren't alone. Vark stood by his window looking at the stars. The galaxy felt different now. The Zorath were supposed to rule it, but the humans were changing the rules. He thought about the 10 humans on Vara 7. He thought they were nothing, just a lesson to scare others. But they were more. Their names were in every note, every missing ship, every dark station. Vark's heart beat faster. He didn't want to admit it, but he was worried. The other Zoreth leaders started to notice too. Torva stopped laughing. Silly stayed up late reading reports. The soldiers were jumpy, checking shadows for humans. The Empire was still strong, but cracks were showing. Vark knew it wasn't just accidents anymore. The humans were fighting, not with guns, but with clever tricks. They were everywhere and nowhere, leaving notes that burned in his mind. Vark sat alone, staring at the notes on his desk. Vara 7 remembers. Vara 7 isn't forgotten. Vara 7 lives. He didn't know who was behind it, but he felt their strength. The humans weren't scared, they were ready. Vark's claws tightened. He had to tell the Emperor soon, but he didn't know how. The Zoreth thought they'd won on Vara 7. Now Vark wasn't sure who was winning. Back on Earth, far from the Zoreth Empire's watchful eyes, important people gathered in a hidden place. There were no bright lights, no cameras, and no loud speeches. The meeting happened in a plain, underground room with gray walls and a single metal table. No one wore fancy clothes or waved flags. These were leaders who cared about the 10 humans hurt on Vara 7, and they were ready to make a plan. They weren't there to talk about sadness. They were there to fight back, quietly and cleverly. The room was deep under a forest, hidden so well that even birds didn't know it was there. The leaders came from different places: scientists, pilots, builders, and teachers. They didn't want the Zoreth to know they were meeting. If the aliens found out, they might send ships to Earth. So the leaders used secret paths to get there, traveling at night in small, quiet vehicles. They turned off their phones and computers so no one could track them. The air in the room felt heavy, but their eyes were sharp with purpose. Sophia led the meeting. She was Carlos's daughter, the gardener from Vara 7. Sophia was a leader who brought people together, and everyone trusted her calm voice. She stood at the table, her hand steady, and spoke first. "We lost 10 people," she said. "They were our family, our friends. The Zoreth think we're weak, but we'll show them we're not." The others nodded. They weren't angry in a loud way, they were focused, like a team before a big game. Sophia wasn't there to cry, she was there to win. Mara was next to Sophia. She was Leela's sister, the scientist who built shields for spaceships. Mara's hair was tied back and her notebook was full of drawings and numbers. She didn't talk much, but when she did, everyone listened. "I've got a new shield," she said. "It can block Zorath weapons. We can protect our ships while we move." The others leaned closer. Mara's shield wasn't ready yet, but she was working fast. She thought of Leela's smile and kept sketching her plans. Eli was there too, the pilot who was Tom's son. He wore a jacket with patches from his Star Runners team. Eli's hands were restless, like he wanted to fly right now. "My ships are ready," he said. "We've been hitting small Zorath targets, but we can do more. We just need a bigger plan." Eli had already made Zorath ships disappear and left messages about Vara 7. He wasn't scared of the aliens. He was eager to outsmart them. His crew was waiting for his orders, ready to zoom through the stars. Samir joined by a secret video call from Luna 4. He was Jaya's friend, the hacker who could break into any computer. His face glowed on a small screen in the room. "I've already messed with their systems," Samir said, grinning a little. "Their maps are wrong and their messages are mixed up. I can do bigger things if you tell me what." Samir's fingers were ready to type, thinking of Jaya's tool belt. He wasn't in the room, but his ideas were a big part of the plan. Clara, Ben's wife, stood in the corner. She was the captain of the Dawn Star, a ship that explored dangerous places. Clara's face was serious, but her voice was steady. "My crew can hit their outposts," she said. "We've already taken their food and signals. We can take more if we work together." Clara's ship was fast and quiet, perfect for sneaking up on the Zorath. She thought of Ben's songs and knew she'd keep fighting for him. Henry, Emma's dad, was a general who knew how to win battles. He had a map of the galaxy spread on the table, marked with red dots where the Zorath were strong. "They have big ships," Henry said, pointing at the map, "but they're spread out. We can hit them where they're weak." Henry's voice was calm, but his eyes were like a storm. He'd fought aliens before, and he wasn't afraid. He wanted to make sure Emma's name was never forgotten. Zara, Omar's mom, was a judge who worked with other aliens. She wasn't in the room. She sent a message from a space station called Unity. "I've talked to the Clyrans and the Voon," Zara wrote. "They don't like the Zorath. They'll help us if we show them we're serious." Zara's words were like a bridge, connecting humans to new friends. She thought of Omar's jokes and worked harder to find allies. Malik, Aisha's cousin, was an engineer who made weapons. He brought a small model of a new tool, a drone that could fly into Zorath ships and turn them off. "It's not big," Malik said, holding up the model, "but it can stop their engines. We can make hundreds." Everyone looked at the tiny drone, amazed. Malik's hands were steady, but his heart was heavy, thinking of Aisha's kind voice. Anil, Ravi's uncle, was a trader who knew every corner of the galaxy. He sat at the table, his face tired from flying. "My ships can carry anything," Anil said. "Food, tools, or people. Tell me where to go and I'll get there." Anil's trade routes were like a map only he understood. He thought of Ravi, the kid who cleaned tools, and knew he'd fly anywhere to make things right. The leaders didn't argue or shout. They listened to each other, sharing ideas like pieces of a puzzle. Sophia kept them focused. "We don't want a big war," she said. "We want the Zorath to know they can't hurt us again. We'll hit their ships, their bases, and their money. We'll do it quietly so they don't see us coming." Everyone agreed. They didn't want to destroy planets, they wanted to teach a lesson. Mara explained her shield plan. "My team is building them now," she said. "We'll put them on Eli's ships and Clara's too. The Zorath won't know why their shots don't work." She showed a picture of a ship glowing with a blue light, safe from lasers. The others nodded, excited. Mara's shields would let them move without fear, giving them time to act. Eli talked about his pilots. "We can fly to their weak spots," he said, pointing at Henry's map. "Small bases, fuel stops, radio towers. We'll hit and run so they can't catch us." Eli's star runners were fast and they knew how to hide in asteroid fields. He wanted to keep the Zorath guessing, never knowing where he'd strike next. His dad, Tom, would have been proud. Samir had a bigger idea. "I can get into their main computer," he said. "It runs their ships and stations. If I break it, they'll be stuck." Samir's screen showed lines of code like a secret language. He wasn't just messing with maps now. He was aiming for the heart of the Zorath's machines. Everyone trusted him, knowing he'd do it for Jaya. Clara added her part. "My crew can take their supplies," she said. "No food, no fuel, no power. They'll get weak without fighting." Clara's Dawn Star was ready to slip through space, taking what the Zorath needed most. She'd already done it before, and she knew how to make it hurt. Ben's memory kept her strong. Henry drew lines on his map. "We'll hit here, here, and here," he said, circling small Zorath bases. "They won't expect us to move so fast. We'll use Malik's drones to stop their ships, then let Eli and Clara take over." Henry's plan was like a game of chess, moving pieces to trap the Zorath. He thought of Emma and kept his pencil moving. Zara's message came again. "The Clyrans will send ships," she wrote. "The Voon will give us fuel. They're watching us. If we show strength, they'll join us." Zara's allies were like extra players, ready to help if the humans proved they could win. She worked late, thinking of Omar, making sure every word counted. Malik showed more of his drones. "They're small but smart," he said. "They can fly inside Zorath ships and turn off their power. We'll send them in waves." Malik's drones were like bees, tiny but dangerous when they worked together. He was building them day and night, remembering Aisha's care. Anil offered his ships. "I can move Mara's shields or Malik's drones," he said. "My traders know secret paths. The Zorath won't see us." Anil's routes were like hidden roads, letting the humans move without being caught. He thought of Ravi's hard work and kept planning. Sophia listened to everyone writing notes. "We'll start small," she said. "Eli hits their fuel, Clara takes their food, Samir breaks their computers, Malik's drones stop their ships, Anil moves our supplies, Mara protects us. Henry picks the targets, Zara gets us friends. We'll do it step by step so the Zorath don't know what's happening." Her voice was steady, like a teacher giving clear directions. The leaders agreed. They didn't want a big fight with explosions and battles. They wanted to be smart, hitting the Zorath where it hurt without being seen. The plan was like a net, closing around the aliens bit by bit. They'd make the Zorath weak, confused, and sorry for what they did on Vara 7. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone thought of the 10. Layla, Tom, Jaya, Carlos, Aisha, Ben, Mia, Omar, Emma, and Ravi. They weren't just names, they were the reason for this plan. The leaders didn't need to say it out loud. They saw it in each other's eyes. They were doing this for their family, their friends, and every human who deserved to be safe. Before they left, Sophia said one last thing. "We don't tell anyone outside this room, not yet. The Zorath can't know we're coming." Everyone nodded. They shook hands, packed their notes, and left the bunker one by one. The forest was dark, but their hearts were bright with hope. They had a plan, and it was strong. The Zarath thought the humans were broken. They thought Vara 7 was the end. But in that secret room under a quiet forest, the humans were building something new. They weren't fighting with words or tears. They were fighting with ideas, plans, and courage. The Zarath would soon learn what happens when you hurt the wrong people. The humans were done with small moves. They had tested the Zarath Empire with little tricks, missing ships, broken radios, and lost supplies. Now they were ready to take control, but not with loud battles or big explosions. They moved like whispers in the dark, striking fast and fading away. The Zarath didn't see it coming. They thought the humans were weak, still crying over Vara 7. But the humans were strong, and their quiet attacks were about to shake the galaxy. On a foggy asteroid called Kren 9, a Zarath outpost stood guard. It was a small base with tall towers and bright lights, watching for trouble. One night the lights went dark. The guards ran to check, but their radios buzzed with static. By morning the outpost was empty. The Zarath soldiers didn't fight, they just gave up. A human team led by Clara, Ben's wife, had slipped in. They didn't hurt anyone. They locked the guards in a room and took their keys. Clara left a note, "Leave our people alone." The Zarath found it and got mad, but they couldn't find her. Far away on a Zarath fuel station, machines stopped working. The station was a busy place, filling tanks for big ships. Eli, Tom's son, flew in with his star runners. They didn't shoot or break anything. They landed quietly, turned off the pumps, and locked the controls. The workers tried to fix it, but the system wouldn't listen. Eli's team was gone before dawn, leaving another note. Vara 7 remembers. The Zarath scratched their heads, confused. They didn't know how the humans did it. On Vara 7, the miners were braver now. Kale, the vent fixer, led a group to a Zarath landing pad. They didn't have guns, but they had tools. They rewired the pad's lights to flash wrong signals. A Zarath ship tried to land and almost crashed. The pilot yelled at his crew, thinking they made a mistake. Kale's team hid in the shadows, smiling. They didn't fight, they just made the Zarath look foolish. The miners felt strong, knowing they were helping their lost friends. Samir, Jaya's hacker friend, worked from Luna 4. He broke into a Zarath computer that ran their trade ships. He didn't shut it down, he changed it. Ships carrying food went to the wrong planets. Metal for weapons ended up in empty space. The Zarath traders were angry, blaming each other. Samir watched his screen, typing fast. He thought of Jaya's tool belt and kept going. His quiet changes were making the Zarath's lives harder, and they didn't even know his name. Sophia, Carlos's daughter, was on Earth guiding people. She sent messages to small human colonies, telling them to hide supplies. They stored food, water, and tools in secret caves. The Zarath didn't notice because Sophia's messages were coded, like a secret game. Her team worked with Anil, Ravi's uncle, who flew his trade ships to move these supplies. Anil's ships looked normal, carrying fruit or cloth, but under the crates were parts for machines and shields. The Zarath checked his ships but found nothing unusual. Clara's Dawn Star crew hit another outpost, this time on a snowy planet. The base was full of Zarath soldiers training for war. Clara's team didn't use weapons. They sneaked in at night, turned off the heat, and locked the doors. The soldiers woke up freezing, their machines stuck in ice. They surrendered to Clara's crew, who gave them blankets and said, "Go home, stop hurting us." The soldiers listened, too cold to argue. Clara's note was there again. Vara 7 isn't forgotten. Eli's star runners took a Zorath radio station next. It was a tall tower on a rocky moon, sending orders to ships. Eli's team flew in, quiet as stars. They didn't break the tower, they changed its signal to play music from Earth. Zorath's ships heard songs instead of commands. The aliens were confused, trying to fix it. Eli's team was gone before they figured it out. The music kept playing, and one song was Tom's favorite, making Eli smile as he flew away. Malik, Aisha's cousin, sent his tiny drones to a Zorath shipyard. The drones were small, like toys, but smart. They flew into big ships and turned off their engines. The Zorath workers couldn't start them. They checked every wire, but nothing worked. Malik's drones were already gone, flying to another target. The shipyard was quiet for days, and the Zorath didn't know why. Malik thought of Aisha's gentle hands and kept building more drones. On Vara 7, Rosa, a miner, led a new trick. She and her friends messed with the Zorath's water system. They didn't break it, they added a safe chemical that made the water taste bad. The guards spat it out, shouting about broken pipes. They spent days looking for a leak that wasn't there. Rosa's team laughed in their hidden room, knowing they made the Zorath uncomfortable. They did it for Layla, Tom, and the others, feeling stronger every day. Anil's trade ships kept moving, carrying secret supplies. One ship went to a human colony near a Zorath base. It dropped off Mara's shields, which glowed blue and kept ships safe. The colony used them to protect their homes. The Zorath tried to scan the colony but saw nothing. Mara's shields worked perfectly, hiding the humans. Anil left a message for the colony. "Stay strong, we're coming." He thought of Ravi and flew to his next stop. Sophia's plan was working. She talked to Henry, Emma's dad, who picked targets on his galaxy map. "Hit their small bases," Henry said. "Make them spread out." His calm voice kept everyone focused. He sent Eli and Clara to places where the Zorath weren't ready. Henry's maps were like a game board, and he was moving the humans pieces to win. He thought of Emma's questions and kept planning. Samir struck again, this time at a Zorath money system. He didn't steal, he mixed up their numbers. Traders got paid too little or too much. Shops ran out of goods because orders were wrong. The Zorath argued, not knowing a human was behind it. Samir's hacks were quiet but powerful, like a pebble starting an avalanche. He sent a note to Sophia. "Their money's a mess. Keep going." He pictured Jaya's smile and typed faster. Clara's crew took a Zorath supply depot. It was a big warehouse full of food and fuel. They didn't burn it, they locked it tight and changed the codes. The Zorath couldn't get in. They sent soldiers, but Clara's team was gone, leaving another note. "Vara 7 lives." The aliens were starting to worry. Their supplies were low, and they didn't know how the humans kept winning. Eli's star runners hit a Zorath drone factory. The drones were like Malik, but bigger and meant for spying. Eli's team sneaked in, turned the drones to face the wrong way, and left. The Zorath's own drones started watching empty space, missing human ships. Eli's crew laughed as they flew away, leaving a note. "Vara 7 sees you." The Zorath were angry but couldn't catch anyone. On Vara 7, Kale's team took a Zorath guard post. They didn't fight. They used Rosa's bad-tasting chemical to make the guards leave for water. Then they locked the post and took the radios. The guards came back, confused, and found a note. We're not afraid. The miners were getting bold, doing more for their lost friends. They hid in the colony's vents, planning their next move. Malik's drones hit a Zorath power plant. They didn't break it, they turned it off for a few hours. The plant powered a big city and the lights went out. The Zorath fixed it, but Malik's drones came back the next night. The city flickered again and the aliens were scared. Malik worked in his workshop, building more drones, thinking of Aisha's care. Sophia kept the leaders together, sending secret messages. "Don't stop," she wrote. "They're getting weak." Her team on Earth hid weapons and food in new places. Annel's ships carried them, dodging Zorath patrols. Clara and Eli kept hitting targets, making the Zorath spread their ships thin. Samir's hacks made their systems fail. Malik's drones stopped their machines. Henry's plans picked the perfect spots. The Zorath were starting to feel it. Their bases were quiet, their supplies low, their systems broken. They didn't know how the humans were doing it. They thought Vara 7 was the end, but it was just the start. The humans didn't destroy or kill, they took control piece by piece. They left notes everywhere. Vara 7 remembers. The Zorath were annoyed, but fear was growing. The humans moved like a team, each doing their part. Clara's stealth, Eli's speed, Samir's hacks, Malik's drones, Kale's tricks, Rosa's bravery, Annel's roots, Sophia's plans, and Henry's maps worked together. They didn't need loud battles, they were winning quietly. The Zorath thought they were in charge, but the humans were taking over, one small victory at a time. Every move was for the 10. Layla, Tom, Jaya, Carlos, Aisha, Ben, Mia, Omar, Emma, and Ravi. The humans didn't shout their names, they showed them in actions. The Zorath didn't see the net closing around them. They thought the humans were weak, but the humans were strong, and their quiet attacks were just the beginning.